The girl was alone washing her hair in the hot water room when a man suddenly appeared beside her and thoughtfully helped her pour hot water. At that moment, Mika had no idea. The person beside her was her nemesis. Only when she finished and looked up, splashing water on his face, did she recognize him. She quickly apologized. Keeley told her she needed extra training in the afternoon. But Mika, in her panic, slipped on the wet floor and tackled Keeley straight to the ground. A familiar scene flashed through her mind, but she still didn't recognize him. She apologized again to the man beneath her. After they stood up, Keeley could only walk away, looking unlucky. That afternoon, Keeley struck a cool pose, ready to give Mika private coaching, but she ran away again right in front of him because of a phone call from someone else. Keeley was furious. Later, while playing basketball with the trainees, he took out all his anger on them, crushing them so badly they couldn't fight back. Mika's unauthorized departure from the base completely enraged Keeley. Even though she patiently explained herself the next day, Keeley expelled her according to regulations. Mika didn't want to leave. She said she would accept any punishment, but Keeley insisted that discipline came above all else, and no personal reason could excuse it. Mika felt deeply wronged by his scolding, but she still firmly declared she would not leave. To teach her a lesson, during roll call for the field training the next day, the instructor called everyone's name, except Mika's. Obviously, it was on Keeley's orders, but she didn't give up. Mika waited at the base entrance all day for their return. Just then, an elderly man came to thank Keeley and insisted on giving him some local specialties, but the guard on duty refused to accept them. Mika kindly offered to hold onto the items for the old man. Seeing he had trouble walking, she offered to walk him home. On the way back down the mountain, a sudden rainstorm hit. She got lost and, unfortunately, slipped down a slope, twisting her ankle. When Keeley learned what had happened, he hurried up the mountain to find her. Hearing his calls, Mika made noise to show her location. Keeley came over, concerned, and checked on her, trying to help her stand, but she couldn't put weight on her injured ankle and ended up falling into his arms. After a moment, they shyly pulled apart. Finally, Keeley decided to carry her down the mountain and let her rejoin the team. After some time of training, their final rappelling assessment was approaching. During practice, Keeley noticed Mika didn't know how to use the rope properly. The next morning, Keeley waited outside the dorm for Mika, wanting to give her a private lesson, but she had already gone to the training ground. When he arrived with the rope, he found Lin Yan had gotten there first. Watching the two training happily together, Keeley couldn't help feeling a little disappointed. At lunch, to thank Lin Yan for his help, Mika used her entire meal card to buy him a lavish feast. Keeley, sitting nearby, strained to eavesdrop on their conversation. Hearing Mika keep piling food onto Lin Yan's plate, he got so upset he couldn't eat and left the table. Everyone noticed he was acting strange, but none guessed it was because he liked Mika. Then, the clueless Lin Yan paid a heavy price for his earlier behavior.
吃的不错，练的不行了。
Soon, the final exam arrived. During the high-altitude rappelling test, Mika, afraid of heights, couldn't bring herself to go down. Seeing this, Keeley personally held the rope for her. She finally gathered her courage to descend, but when she looked down, she became dizzy and fainted in mid-air. The female doctor suddenly fainted at a high altitude. Everyone panicked. Luckily, the instructor caught the rope in time. After she landed safely, everyone gathered around to check on her. Xing Keeley looked extremely worried. After an examination, Mika was fine, just fainted from fear of heights. But this made Keeley frown. That night, when grading the trainees, he struggled internally, though he really wanted Mika to pass the assessment. In the end, reason won. The short training session ended. When handing out certificates, everyone received one, except Mika. Despite pleas from the trainees, Keeley was not swayed, because she hadn't completed the high-altitude rappel, and a fear of heights is a serious flaw for emergency rescue. Though sad, Mika kept a brave face, telling everyone to enjoy the graduation party, then went alone to the terrace to clear her head. Keeley, worried, followed to comfort her. As they talked, Mika mentioned being taken hostage 2 years ago, unaware that her savior was standing right in front of her. Hearing her keep complimenting the uncle who saved her, Keeley was speechless.
景叔叔
啊，
你是不是记错了呀？有那么老吗？
重点是在特警叔叔的年纪吗？
Keeley wanted to be annoyed at being called old, but seeing the admiration on her face made him very happy. Still, he didn't reveal his identity. The next moment, Mika started teasing him for looking too young and soft to be a SWAT officer. That instantly triggered Keeley's competitive side. He started rolling up his sleeves to prove himself. His reaction made Mika laugh. They talked until nightfall. When they returned to camp, a party was already waiting. Keeley was dragged into group photos by the female trainees, but his eyes never left Mika. Soon the graduation party began. The trainees wanted to turn the tables on the instructors. They put a heart rate monitor on Keeley and made him play the no crush challenge. If his heart rate went above 100 in 1 minute, he would face a punishment. On their orders, Keeley did all kinds of exercises. No matter what they made him do, his heart rate only reached 80. When it was Mika's turn, her friend urged her to use seduction tactics. make them have a staring contest. Both started off confident, but staring at the girl he liked for so long, Keeley was gradually drawn in by her beauty. His heart rate began to rise. Just then, someone pushed Mika from behind. Keeley instinctively caught her. Their sudden contact made his heart rate instantly spike to 125. Mika shyly hid behind her friend. Keeley stubbornly claimed the monitor was broken.
玩坏了还是你心动？
这个真是英雄难过美人啊！
Keeley accepted the punishment. First, he ate a cracker slathered in wasabi. Then he had to drink a nasty concoction of pepper and other spices. The trainees urged Mika to feed it to him, but Keeley drank it in one gulp. Mika, worried about his throat, handed him some water. Then she said she needed to use the bathroom. Since it was far, Keeley drove her. Mika never expected that a trip to the bathroom would get her certificate back. Her phone alerted her to an emergency nearby. They rushed over to help. By the time they arrived, the driver had lost consciousness. To save him, Mika overcame her fear and successfully rescued the man trapped on the cliff edge. The man walked shyly into a women's lingerie store to buy underwear, but he was so nervous he couldn't even explain what he needed. To his surprise, the saleswoman was extremely enthusiastic and started introducing him to bras. That instantly scared him out of his wits. He then fled the store in a panic. It turned out that in a rescue 2 days earlier, Shin Kole had accidentally bumped his head while saving Mika. In the heat of the moment, she used her own tank top to bandage his wound. Seeing the usually stern SWAT officer looking so adorably wrapped up by her, Mika couldn't help but laugh. When Kole got back, he realized the thing used for his bandage was actually her tank top. So, in order to see Mika again, Kole showed up with a carefully chosen gift. He told her to open it only after she got home. Then he mustered the courage to ask her to dinner. After saying that, without waiting for her answer, afraid of being rejected, he hurriedly urged her to go back. But just then, the police unit received an emergency mission. As a SWAT officer, he had to return to the team immediately. Mika, after finishing her meeting, was so busy that she forgot about their dinner plan. Unexpectedly, her colleagues discovered Kole's gift.
辛克雷把他的内衣送给你了。哎，他为啥把内衣送给你啊？他知道啊。
This made Mika both embarrassed and flustered. After getting away from everyone, she quickly called Kole to ask him about it. But he was on a mission at the time, and no one answered the phone. It wasn't until late that night, after finishing his mission, that he suddenly remembered his plan with Mika. Kole felt extremely guilty, so he drove around looking for her, and finally spotted Mika biking home by the roadside. He didn't approach immediately, just quietly followed behind. Seeing that she was so tired she was about to fall asleep, Kole pretended to run into her by chance and offered to take her home. Without much thought, Mika got into his car. They had only exchanged a few words when she fell asleep in the passenger seat from exhaustion. Watching her sleeping face, even after reaching her place, Kole couldn't bear to wake her up. But when Mika finally woke up, he put on his aloof attitude again and scolded her for having no sense of safety. So they started bickering again. Annoyed, Mika turned and went upstairs. Yet Kole didn't leave immediately. He stayed parked downstairs until he saw her room light turn on, then slowly drove away. Watching the taillights disappear into the distance, Mika felt a strange warmth rise in her heart. A girl foaming at the mouth was rushed to the hospital, said to have fallen down the stairs. But Mika noticed something wasn't right. Sure enough, after asking, the girl's father revealed she had mistaken pesticide for a drink. Once the doctors understood the situation, they immediately wheeled the girl into the emergency room. After emergency treatment, Mumu was still out of danger. The pesticide was too toxic. She needed large doses of atropine to counteract it. But the hospital stock was nowhere near enough, and more had to be urgently transferred from other hospitals. Then rush hour traffic hit. Just as everyone was losing hope of saving the little girl, Mika stayed calm under pressure. She quickly sat down and started breaking open medicine vials by hand. Each atropine injection contained only 0.5 milligrams. Even though she knew breaking them by hand could take until tomorrow, Mika never stopped. Her colleagues were moved by her determination. Everyone voluntarily came to help break open vials. But even with everyone's hard work, Mumu's condition didn't improve much. If it worsened again, she could go into liver failure. Just then, Shin Keeley came to see Mika. Seeing everyone so busy, he asked what was going on. After learning the situation, Keeley immediately contacted the command center, asking nearby police cars to help deliver the medicine. Everyone gave their all to save Mumu. Police raced against the clock outside, while medical staff never paused for a moment. The pile of medicine boxes on the table grew like a small mountain. Mumu's father sat slumped on the floor, praying. Everyone was racing against death. Finally, at 5 in the morning, good news came from the ward. Mumu's vitals were improving. Her various indicators were gradually returning to normal. When they heard this, everyone burst into cheers. A miracle hadn't just appeared out of nowhere. It was created by doctors and police working together. Overjoyed, Mika hugged Keeley, thanking him for their timely help.
谢谢警察叔叔。
谢谢警察叔叔，各位辛苦。
The next day, the hospital commended everyone involved in the rescue. Mumu was still in bed. but the high cost of follow-up treatment made things even harder for her already struggling family. Mika wasn't well off either, but she couldn't bear to see Mumu give up treatment because of money. Without hesitation, she lent Mumu's father an entire year's worth of rent. After that, Mika didn't have enough money left to rent a place near the hospital. She didn't want to borrow from anyone else, so she ended up staying in the hospital break room. But kind people are always rewarded. A colleague suddenly said a friend had an apartment for rent. The two went to look at it right away. Mika liked the place very much, but thought the rent was a bit too high. Her colleague helped her cut the rent in half. However, the landlord required that she not open the study room, and that she handle all the cleaning. Mika happily rented it, feeling especially lucky. She just found it strange that the landlord was so mysterious. Her colleague even collected the rent on his behalf. Soon Mika moved into her new home. After finishing a mission, Kili had Li Nian drive around the neighborhood 3 times. Finally, they spotted the person he wanted to see on the road. Kili immediately got out to talk to her. During their conversation, Mika mentioned she had moved to a new complex. Hearing the name of the complex, Li Nian almost let slip Kili's secret. The next second, he got a solid punch. Even Mika felt bad for him.
老打人家。那我先走了，你们忙吧。
行，那你打我干什么呀？打你还需要理由吗？不是啊，哪那么多话？The
girl suddenly realized that the apartment she had just rented at a low price had a problem. Every move she made seemed to be monitored. Mika quickly called her best friend over. She suspected she had a perverted landlord, because every time she needed something, it would inexplicably appear in her room. At first, she only mentioned to her coworker that she needed a floor mat and a garment steamer. Then both items showed up at home that same day. She said her neck was sore, and the next day she received a neck massager. Even when her rice cooker broke, a new one was delivered. Initially, she naively thought the landlord was just nice. It wasn't until face masks appeared in her apartment that Mika realized something was wrong. This series of strange events made her very uneasy. Her best friend suspected the landlord had been spying on her, but Mika denied it, because she had only mentioned the face masks to Chun Tao at the hospital. Her best friend immediately thought he liked Mika, and was trying to solve her problems to win her over. So the next day, Mika planned to clear things up with Chen Tao, but as soon as she got to work, he brought her breakfast. Now Mika was even more confused, so she directly asked Chen Tao if he liked her, and said she didn't plan to date for the next few years. Chen Tao was completely baffled. After observing him for a day, Mika found that Chen Tao wasn't interested in her at all. That made her even more worried about the apartment. So her best friend decided to stay with Mika for a few days. To get to the root of the problem, her friend then called Xu Wenba to help investigate. Hearing that the two might be in danger, he rushed over immediately. Unexpectedly, with just one sentence, he solved the mystery.
这个房子的房东有问题，他可能是个变态。
你说我们行队是变态？
It turned out that a few days earlier, Xing Kule had learned that Mika had lent all her money to a patient's family for medical bills, leaving her unable to afford rent. So he used a month's worth of meals to bribe Chen Tao into helping him rent out his own apartment to Mika at a low price. Later, Mika pretended the power had gone out. Sure enough, Kole sneaked over to check the meter, but the moment he walked in, Mika caught him red-handed. Yet he wasn't the least bit flustered. He had planned this with Chen Tao in advance. Even if caught, they would deny everything. He lied to Mika, saying he had no idea the apartment had been rented to her. Otherwise, he wouldn't have bought all those things. Sure enough, she was completely fooled. But her best friend immediately guessed that Kule must like Mika. Then she teased her for not dating all these years. Was it because she still couldn't forget the SWAT officer who had saved her? Mika said no, but her expression gave her away. What Mika didn't know was that Xing Kule was the very SWAT officer who had saved her 2 years ago. The girl never expected that when the SWAT officer slowly put on his mask, she would recognize him as the man who had risked his life to save her 2 years ago. The savior Mika had been searching for all these years was none other than the Xing Kule standing before her. She never imagined that 2 years later, they would be fighting side by side. A criminal had taken a female celebrity hostage. Xing Kule was ordered to hunt him down. The kidnapper was an obsessive fan of the celebrity. Angry that she was marrying another man, he had abducted her. The police faced off with him, daring not to act rashly. Mika arrived at the scene as well. She realized the celebrity was having an asthma attack and was in critical condition. Kole wanted to have a teammate pretend to be a doctor to bring oxygen equipment over, but the kidnapper was very cautious, insisting on a female doctor. Mika immediately volunteered to go, but Kole stopped her, saying that saving people was their job, and he wouldn't let her take even a hint of risk. Mika argued that saving lives was her responsibility. If the hostage died from asthma, then his mission would also be a failure. With no other option, Kole put a bulletproof vest on Mika and told her that after putting the oxygen mask on the celebrity, she must evacuate immediately. He promised her that he would never let anything happen to her. Then he put on his mask, revealing only a pair of determined eyes. Mika suddenly remembered the SWAT officer who had saved her 2 years ago. Now they were about to fight side by side. Kool-Aid was stopped by the kidnapper after just a few steps. Mika had to go alone. As she calmly put the oxygen mask on the celebrity, Kool-Aid noticed that the bomb had no motherboard connection. After confirming it couldn't be detonated, he and his teammates circled behind the vehicle while Mika distracted the kidnapper. With Mika's help, Kool-Aid quickly subdued the kidnapper. After the hostage was safely rescued, Mika stayed behind to help Kool-Aid treat his wound. Then she suddenly reached out and covered his face, trying to verify whether he was the one who saved her 2 years ago. But before she could confirm, Kool-Aid was called away by his teammates. She could only bury her doubts for the time being. When she got home, Mika dreamed of Kool-Aid, dreamed that he was the one who had saved her years ago. For a moment, she couldn't tell what her feelings for Kool-Aid really were. At a loss, she turned to her best friend for help. Xingxia asked her if she got especially nervous whenever Kool-Aid went on a mission. Wanting to know how he was immediately, Mika had to admit it was all true. After realizing she had feelings for Kool-Aid, she couldn't help worrying whether he liked her back. Xingxia told her to find an opportunity to confirm. Mika had no idea how, but a chance came sooner than she expected. Because of his injury, Kool-Aid was given 3 days off. He immediately went to the hospital to pick up Mika after work, planning to take her to dinner. Mika said she needed to go home to organize some materials. Kool-Aid suggested eating at home instead. Being alone in the apartment together, just the two of them, made Mika a little nervous. She worried that Kool-Aid wouldn't leave after dinner, but Xingxia thought this was actually a perfect opportunity. Just then, Kool-Aid cleverly called Mika over to help. He said with a helpless look that his hand was injured, and he couldn't tie his apron. They moved closer, the atmosphere a bit awkward, but there was also an added sweetness in the air. In reality, his hand injury wasn't serious, but he pretended to have trouble moving, feeling perfectly justified in having Mika help him, using the chance to get close. The romantic tension was just right. During the meal, Kool-Aid said he had 3 days off and would stay overnight. Mika immediately got up nervously, saying she was full. Then she rushed into the bathroom, trying to cool herself down with cold water. When she came out, she found he had already cleaned everything up. Kool-Aid slowly approached her. She nervously backed away. Kool-Aid pressed her against the wall. They had never been so close before. They could almost feel each other's breath. When Mika opened her eyes again,